Tommy Vigorito here at Lord Jim's in Hawthorne, New Jersey, and he's with the Miami Dolphins, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Why don't you give us a scouting report? This is an inside report on the Miami Dolphins.
Well, I think our biggest asset is the fact that if you take Kuchenberg and Vernon Herter out of our lineup, we are the youngest team in the NFL. And having the experience of going to the Super Bowl last year and everybody coming back this year and being so young, you know, we got nowhere to go but up. And hopefully that's what will happen. Next year we'll win it.
All right, I don't think I can ask you how can you get experience in the draft. These guys are younger than you are, but what should the Dolphins go for in this draft?
I think the fact that we brought Vern out of retirement last year, they're not going to want to do that again because he said he's refused to come off his farm again this year. So I think we're going to go after defensive linemen if there's any quality defensive linemen around at the time. And if we don't get a defensive lineman, we'll probably go to the defensive secondary for help. Those will probably our two most important factors where we need more backup help right now than we do starters.
All right, thank you very much, Tommy Vigorito. Comments on the defense for the Dolphins. Gentlemen?
All right, so a good look at what Miami might be doing. They, in effect, though, will have two #1 selections because David Overstreet has come back from Canada, leaving the debacle of the Montreal Alouettes. So, in essence, with Overstreet coming to camp this July, they'll have two #1s. Right. And you can't quibble with something like that because Pittsburgh will be in the same situation with Keith Gary having come back from Canada at the same time.
I would guess what Vigorito said is very accurate.
All righty, and plus, you look at Miami over the years, having had 4 different player personnel men. You had Don Shula, the Rock of Gibraltar, more than a coach, just about club president when you think about it.
Well, the best coach around, really, and I'm sorry, there's several of the other good ones around, but Shula's the best. I think that if we're to believe what Vigorito says, and of course, it's not like Don called up Tommy this morning and told him what to say, Mike Charles of Syracuse may be a good guess here. Perhaps a cornerback, but I think the guys that might have been around for the first-round picks are gone. A sleeper in the cornerback area, Darrell Green, Texas A&I, if they want a burner. But Miami's starting defensive backfield is pretty strong.
All right, what about John Tice? Need for a tight end out of Maryland. We're talking about that before the Dolphins. Their selection in New York City. They will be making selection number 27 with Washington to follow as we conclude round 1. But the Dolphins about to make their selection right now.
Miami Dolphins, first-round selection. The Dolphins select quarterback Dan Marino of Pittsburgh. Next up, the Super Bowl champion Washington Redskins.
That was Commissioner Pete Rozelle just about a minute and a half ago as he made the selection announcement for the selection of Danny Marino.
I don't understand it. Number one, I don't know who is going to work with him down there. Where is the great quarterback coaching genius of the Dolphins? I know Arnsparger is a great defensive coach. I don't see where he's going to get this great coaching that's going to overcome the problems he's had. I mean, strictly long-range projection down the line, and I think they need help in other directions. Maybe they felt that what they wanted wasn't there and they couldn't get that help, but I really don't understand.
You wouldn't label him as a classic Don Shula kind of quarterback either.
No, that's true. But again, they got to the Super Bowl with a David Woodley at quarterback, and they must figure that they can certainly, if they can get it out of David Woodley, you got to figure they think they can get it out of Dan Marino.
I don't know what is a classic Shula quarterback. He's only had one really great quarterback, and that's Greasy.
Sure. Now Miami picking right after the Raiders, the next to last pick in the first round, went for Dan Marino. Marino's stock had dropped precipitously with Pittsburgh's season this past year and a very poor senior year. What his mental attitude will be going into the Miami camp may be more important than what his physical attributes are.
I would hope and believe that Dan will calm down considerably. He was considered at the start of the year perhaps the best college quarterback. People talking about Heisman for him in spite of Herschel Walker. He's got all of the physical tools. As a junior, he played a magnificent Sugar Bowl game. He's proven that he's got the ability, and as you say, it's mainly mental, but I think that the coaching he will receive and the calmness of his development, he'll make it.
He threw 37 touchdown passes as a junior, but he threw 23 interceptions that year, 22 interceptions this past year. In fact, more interceptions, 5 more interceptions than touchdowns as a senior. The Sugar Bowl MVP from '81, but going next to last in the first round, and a 3.5 on a read. That is one of the lower scouting numbers we've seen in this first round.
Well, that's because of all the interceptions that he threw. That is for sure. He is the pocket-type passer. Don Strock will not be around forever. David Woodley is the different type of quarterback, probably, that is more mobile out there. But Marino with the long downfield arm, maybe they hope that with a little guidance, Paul brings up a point, gee, who's going to give him the guidance down there? I'm not sure. But if he settles down, that he can be the Strock type passer, and they would still have, well, you can't call it Woodstock anymore. We'll have to think up a name in the next hour or 6. But it gives them the different look at quarterback. So Miami did say they would be looking at a quarterback if one of those guys was around, and it shows that my sources weren't kidding when they told me that, because only one of them was left, and they took the one that was left, Marino.